1,000 Words podcast. Join us as we discuss the antics of pro athletes, sports politics, and everything in between. No sport nor athlete is off limits. Now, get you a pitcher of wine and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Lene and Linnell Fletcher, a.k.a. the Fletcher Twins.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of A Pitcher's Worth 1,000 Words podcast. This your girl, Nelly Nell.
And this your girl, Nay. So we are still in March, which is Women's History Month. And so that means we are still in our Women in Sports series. So we are here with episode 4 of our series, and we are joined today by sports anchor / reporter Giselle Espinales.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us. And how are you doing today?
Yeah, how has
doing really well. It was a busy day today. I actually got to go to Coral Gables and a send-off to the Miami Hurricanes basketball team. Being an alum and also being able to cover them, it's really special to see this team make it as far as they did. So it's been a busy day running around, picked up my kids, and I got them. I'm like, hey, you guys got to be quiet. I got a podcast. I'm jumping on.
Yeah, and it's also
been we're definitely going to get into the UM basketball team, so we'll wait for that.
Yeah, and it's also been gloomy and rainy over the past 2 days. So I hate that because the traffic is so much slower because people are driving more cautious. But it just takes me forever to pick up my kids and come home when it's raining. I hate that. And it's
it goes so much slower. It's so much slower, and then we're seeing people. I'm like, we just want to get home, and we live on the beach, so it's just the traffic with construction. We're always running around, so sometimes I'm like, man, I can't believe I drove this much in just one day. So
that's true.
At least y'all can drive. I'm up here in New York. I have to take the subway with all these people coughing and stuff. COVID is still not around. Nobody wears a mask anymore, but and it's still really chilly here. Today, it was in the 40s and 50s. So, but next week we're supposed to get to the tip of the 60s, 61, 62. So I'm happy for that. So this is our spring. This is our spring.
Does everyone go to Central Park and go tan out and stuff when they hit 60 in New York?
It's 60. It don't even have to be high. As long as the sun is out, they're tanning. The first time I ever seen that, I was like, "What are they doing? This isn't." But they be out there playing frisbee they on the sand and everything. They definitely be out there. As soon as the sun come out, it's done.
I love that.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into knowing more about you, Giselle. So can you explain to us and the audience how you got into sports anchoring and reporting? Because I know when I was a little girl and I used to see all the anchors on the news, I used to think it was such a cool, they were all very cool, and then I would see them around the community at different community events, and they were like celebrities to me. So how did you get into this thing?
I mean, I remember when I was in elementary school and I was part of the little news team. And then in middle school, I was doing, the little newsletters that we would make that we called ourselves the Gifted Geeks and just write little articles. And it really was something I've always loved, but I didn't know how to kind of steer that way until I reached the University of Miami. I got my AA at Miami-Dade, and then I just was literally straight through the path of the last 2 years at UM to finish my undergrad of just doing sports broadcasting. Okay. And luckily I was very blessed to be a part of such a great program. And, we did everything at UM. Luckily there's so many sports teams that you could cover there. And that was part of our work. Our classes would be go cover this game, go cover that game. I had a really great class. She's actually a beat writer for the Miami Herald, Michelle Kaufman. And I still go talk to her class, but she's one of the ones that also taught me the writing side of it. And we were at where Serena Williams was playing at the Miami Open. These events surrounded myself by, and I was able to do some anchoring there with UMTV, and it was a lot of fun to kind of put everything I've worked for in those 2 years to practice. I was shooting games, I was at football, I was everything. So I basically immersed myself to the point that I'm like, this has to be my career. And luckily out of college, I was able to get started with it.
That's
cool. Did you play any sports in school, high school? middle school?
I did. I played I was on the swim team in high school and I played water polo, but only for 2 years. But that's my claim to fame because water polo is one of the toughest sports to ever play. And I was, I know how to swim, but I wasn't like a swim, when people are swimming fast, like that's something I learned really quick because I really wanted to be a starter for my senior year. So I joined the swim team, even though I hated it, which is funny because now my little one's in the swim team. So I'm like, I wonder if I'm trying to like push an agenda towards her. But I played water polo and it was a lot of fun to build that team camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
And I still wish I could have kept playing it as an adult, but time and things like that. But it's a sport I really, really enjoyed playing.
Are you originally from Miami?
I'm born and raised from Miami. Did all my college stuff here. It was a lot of fun to be able to, say that I'm from here and kind of represent the 305.
We were actually born in Miami at Jackson Memorial Hospital. But
woohoo! Represent Jackson Memorial. I used to work there too. That was my first job out of high school.
But after Hurricane Andrew, which I'm pretty sure you remember, in '92, we moved to West Palm Beach. So that's where we grew up, in West Palm. And unlike you, we went to Florida State instead of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, we need to end this podcast right now. Honestly, Florida State, now that my our oldest, going through college stuff, I tell him all the time, Florida State is that was one of my schools I would have loved to have gone to because the campus itself is so beautiful and it reminds you so much. Like I went to go to a college tour also to the University of Florida, but something about FSU, I was like, this is college town. And I've been able to go to games when the city shuts down. Doug Campbell was insane. I was like, wow, no wonder people make fun of UM not being college campus, because FSU, it was like a crazy environment. It was so much fun. And we had what a burger too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I went there like one time. Okay, so being a sports anchor, because normally, like if you watch the news, you see, the main anchor is probably a woman, and then there's probably a man. But normally they usually give the sports reporting to another man, and the women normally have like the fashion segments or the cooking segments. So you actually being a sports reporter, what are some obstacles you face being a woman, reporter on sports?
I think these are the things that we like talking about. I remember even talking to one of the classes about that I recently went to. The hardest thing is always making over prepping. Because right away, sometimes it feels like, do you even really know the sport kind of thing? And I think having that mentality made me over prep so much for so many things where I was like, okay, let me learn every single thing. I was buying books of how the games were of different sports because I wanted to make sure, I don't want to be the one to say the wrong thing. Like if I say a hockey puck and it was really, something else, or like a ball when it was this. And that was one of the things that I just didn't want to be embarrassed of. So I feel one of the harder things about being a woman in sports is having that credibility all the time, like making sure that the stuff, that they trust you and you're not just there to the reputation sometimes they just want to get close to athletes, things like that. That's not how it is. We just want to get good stories out. And sometimes it's hard being a woman, or sometimes being the only woman in certain spots or certain locker rooms. It sometimes can be intimidating.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. So what, on the flip side, what is the best part about being a sports anchor?
See, it really is amazing to be able to go to sporting events. Like something I think once you see it all the time and you go, I'm like, damn, am I losing how blessed I am to even be able to cover these things? Because sometimes it is the same thing. Sometimes you're covering these games where they're losing and you're like, oh, I'm tired, I want to go home. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm at a sporting event. I'm literally getting paid to watch sports. Even when I was an editor over at Fox Sports, which is now Bally Sports, we, sometimes where the days are long, we're watching games. I'm like, we're getting paid good money to literally watch a game. So it's fun to be able to that's some of the best things. You're just enjoying, it's hard news. I love news. I love everything that also news brings. I try to keep myself updated with a lot of the stories around the country, around the hometown. But a lot of it's sad and a lot of it's, can get you angry. And I think sports is something that for me personally has always made me happy. Even if my team is losing, it's something you're always going to have a good time watching a game. So I think that's one of the best things about being able to cover sports in general.
Okay. And I noticed, because I'm sneaking on your Instagram, I
Hey.
noticed that you also cover the Miami Heat. And recently they created a whole section for Udonis Haslem, which is like the OG of the Heat. Um, has the section been revealed, and how do you feel about that? Because I know he's well deserving. He's been there for forever. He's like the
I
backbone.
know. And in a couple of weeks, that's it. His career is going to be done. I think it's pretty incredible that they actually dedicated um, a section for Udonis Haslem. I mean, he literally does bleed Mr. 305. And he's one of the kindest people, always needs that special send off. They did like 4 days of 40, which is 4 days for Udonis Haslem, just celebrating him and everything he's brought to this organization because of it. Because in the end, like I know people say like he doesn't play, he doesn't get minutes, but he's there every day with like the best body fat that they would say on the team, grinding it out with these players that are 20 years younger than him and still being able to be an elite athlete in the NBA, which is not easy to be. And the fact is he's been able to create all these memories for this franchise, bring championships here. It's really special for him to be able to end that way and have a section dedicated to him in the arena.
That's great. When I saw that, because my friend, who's from Miami as well, she posted that on her Instagram, and I'm like, oh wow, that was so nice. Because he was everything to that team. He's like a mentor to the younger players and everything like that. So that was great.
Okay, so I noticed that you mentioned you have children. So how is that with your position in working in sports? How is the work-life balance? How do you balance that?
It's hard. There's days where I remember I'd feel really guilty because it was the grind in sports in general is so small of a window to be able to even be involved in it. Like, I've been grinding because sometimes it's like if you don't, someone else can get a spot or someone else can move up quickly. And I think it's a hard balance sometimes. I try to find the balance in it. There's times where I think I was too involved with my work that I'm like, okay, the kids are going to be fine, things like that. But I know I have to find a better balance with it because in the end, life is always like my kids are always going to be and need me. And so I try to do my very best of like, okay, no, I need to, disconnect from certain things and just be able to balance that out too, because it's not easy. Sports is in the middle of the night. You're doing stuff in the afternoon, pickups are in the afternoon. I've missed some stuff for them and they know and understand it, but there's always that guilt inside of me, but they know that I'm trying to live out my dream because you never know when the dream can be taken away, and every day I'm grateful for whatever I get to do. And they know that as well.
That's true because I used to have mommy guilt a lot because I want to be like I'm one of the ones that I want to be at everything, like the practices, the games, the PTA meetings. I want to be the teacher mom, the room mom. And so yeah, I used to have mommy guilt about that. And but then I just had to realize that they'll be okay. Like kids are resilient, like not like we are. Because we
Maybe I've been seeing them videos where the mom dropped the kid off to daycare for the first time, and the kid just run right in, and the mom is in the car crying.
yeah.
So with this, you put so much on hold for me, and she's been very supportive in everything I do. And then my little one's like, all right, cool, see ya. Like she just thinks it's something cool, and it's she tells her friends at school. So we try to do the best that we can because my husband also he works for Channel 10 here ABC in Miami, and so it's also a balance of like, okay, well he needs to be able to go to all his stuff because he's the sports director over there. So we're like just literally juggling as much as we can with what we can.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we know the Miami Open is going on now. So have you covered any of those events?
I haven't gone to this year, but I have gone to the Miami Open. I went when did I go? I've been to the one on Key Biscayne, which was years ago. And then the one here, I think it's really nice. Hard Rock's trying to do a lot of stuff for F1, for tennis. Stephen Ross is definitely putting a lot of money into these installations. It's always a good time to go over there because there's a lot of ways like you could just eat and drink and watch tennis. Like, hey, let's go watch this game at this particular place. And it's also just a great installation just to have there at Hard Rock and get that stadium used. So I like it over there. I think it's really cool.
Okay.
And speak.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple questions. So, regarding the the NCAA tournament, we did mention earlier that UM is going, but also, well, to the Final Four. Also, FAU is in the Final Four, which is another Florida school. So, my first question is, do you think any one of those teams will win it all? And also, if they meet in the championship, because it's a possibility they meet, who
Yeah.
would you root for?
Well, she went to UM.
I mean,
I know. I love a Cinderella story. I know it's hard. I love those stories of teams. Like, let's be honest. Who was saying that Miami would even made it to the Final Four, but let alone FAU? This is a team that's had such a special season over at Florida Atlantic University, and Dusty May, everything he's been able to do with this team, it's incredible. These are teams that never really get, sometimes they don't even have the budget to be able to do this stuff. And they get so much money by just making it to the Final Four. So it's a really special time for that school. And listen, I have to go Canes all the way because this team is so special to me. Last year, we got to see them in the Elite Eight make history. And for them to see that again in the Final Four, Coach Larinaga deserves this because this is a man who literally gives his all to these teams. He knows so much basketball. He's such a kind person, and no better way to end this run that they have without a championship. And the fact that it could be a South Florida championship so is incredible. But
it would be incredible.
Amazing. But unfortunately, the Miami Hurricanes have a harder path to it because UConn is a really good team.
Yes.
So we'll see. But they've beaten all the other good teams that they said that they were underdogs for. So keep going.
I saw that and I was like, I don't know.
But if they make it, I would be so proud. I would be such a proud Floridian up here in New York. I would have to represent the whole week. I would be so happy.
You just gotta go the entire day. Hi, good to see you. Hi.
So, what advice would you give women or like little girls, teens who want to work in sports, whether it's reporting, even if it's like behind the camera, anything like that? What advice would you give them?
I think learn it all. One of the things that I take a lot of pride in is I edit, I produce, I'm not afraid to carry cameras and write stories and go shoot the stories and sit on the floor. I've sat on the floor at boardwalks where, hey, let's be honest, sometimes they look a little dirty, the boardwalks where the stories I'd be covering, where you're sweating, you're getting all this stuff, but you're getting the content. And I think that's the biggest advice I could give people now is just I know it's so easy to just, pick up your phone, but don't just pick up the phone and do content, actually create the videos and, hey, you're out at an event, practice. Nowadays, it's so easy to be able to create stories to begin with or reels. And I think that's the best advice. And if you're in college doing this, internships, I think that's networking is the biggest thing I have learned in this industry because you never know who you're going to meet at these events. And when you do go to these events, those people might end up being news directors at other stations or for pro teams. And you just want to be a kind person to everybody you meet because in the end, they could be the ones that are telling you or confirming your next job. So I think learning everything that you can and always being confident in that kind of stuff is going to take you a long way in this industry. I've been in it for, in different capacities, not just on TV. I've done it all for 10 years and I'm really proud of that. And I hope it can keep going in different ways as well as TV and everything else continues to change.
Nice.
Very nice.
Oh, no, you can go.
Okay. So, what's next for you? What's next for Giselle? Do you have any goals that you're trying to reach, that you're aiming towards?
That's a great question. And I think about this every single day, which is, I try to put it out there. And I would love to work for a pro team. I think, especially an NBA team, hopefully it's something that does come in my future, which is not too far away, because I think being a part of a team and really getting to know the players on a personal level and really getting to tell their stories, whether it's through creating content or being around for those special moments. I think that's really, really something I've always enjoyed. When I was in undergrad, I worked for Canes football, and I know football is obviously a way bigger roster, but it was fun being around the team every single day where you're out there in those practices in the hot sun, but everyone's kind of going for the same goal and trying to win a championship. So I think that's the next goal for me, hopefully getting to work for a team in a professional manner.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool.
Very, very nice.
I literally
That's so funny.
so for our series, I wanted to get women that worked in sports, but I noticed that we hadn't had anyone like local from Miami. So I literally Googled sports reporters in Miami, and you was like the first name to pop up. And I was like, okay,
I love it.
try to reach
You're
out.
like, let's do it. Oh, it was great. It was meant to be.
So normally on our episodes, we normally talk about hot topics or some any type of scandal that's going on in sports. So I wanted to bring up the Florida Panthers. So literally as recently as last week, they controlled their own destiny
Always a
in
scandal.
the postseason. But they've just had four straight losses, and basically making the playoffs now is very unlikely. And even if they win out, they need, I think, the Penguins and the Islanders to like lose some games. So what do you think about that? Because they need like what is that saying?
A miracle?
A miracle, yeah. They need a prayer.
They need lots of prayers because, first of all, they're in one of the toughest conference in the NHL. The Eastern Conference is just stacked. But the problem is, it's actually sad. They went from winning the most games last season, having all this fandom. You have South Florida, which we are very untrusting when it comes to hockey here. Like, I feel like you guys would know this. Like, everyone's like, you can only get us full as once. And they ended up not performing as well. And they did get that star player in Matthew Tkachuk, and he's had such a great season, but nothing else to back it up. And I don't know if it comes down to coaching. They have on record, the coach, Paul Maurice, is one of the most losingest coach in NHL. So that's not a good thing either. He's lost the most games in the league. So it's sad that they had such a special season that we've been able to see. They even had the NHL All-Star game this season here and just haven't been able to perform. And it's not an easy conference to get through to begin with.
Yeah, that's sad. That sucks. Because I do like watching them when they're playing. So that's going to be
and it's fun to go to a hockey game. It's always fun to see the excitement. But I think even Matthew Tkachuk's dad, I was reading an article, he was saying that this team's too soft. I was like, oh, that sounds like fighting words, but it might be true. It's like sometimes you got to just push through, and whether it's the little injuries or the little plays that there's on the ice, it's like you got to get something done. It can't just fall on one player.
Yeah,
They do like to fight in hockey. They do like to fight.
Okay, so
the blood all over the ice. I'm like, who cleans that up?
Okay, so we always like to end off our episodes with a highlight of the week, and so we've already pretty much talked about it, but we want to highlight again the FAU Owls and the UM Hurricanes. They both are headed to the Final Four. FAU before this year never even won an NCAA tournament game as a program. So kudos to them. And this is UM's first Final Four in school's history. And that was a great comeback win over Texas. I watched both games and they both were excellent. It really was. So
I'm mad because this Saturday is when they play next, and I'm going to a comedy show, so I'm gonna miss the game.
I'll tell you about it.
They probably take our cell phone, so I can't even look at
check the score or something. Yeah, you might be able to catch the FAU score since it's earlier, but I mean, it is special. It's a special season for them, so it's really exciting times. They could both lose on Saturday, and then no South Florida teams. But in the end, if one of them makes it even to the championship game, that's a great win for South Florida.
It is. I will have to go somewhere to watch the championship. Because that atmosphere will be amazing. I love it.
Yeah, come to Houston. Let's go. We'll fly out.
That'll get me out the house because I'm normally inside. I like to be inside, but that will get me out the house on a weekday.
I love that.
All righty. Thank you so much, Giselle, for joining us. Can you let our audience know where they can find you on social media or, again, what channel you report for? Things like
With TikTok, my kids are trying to keep me young. They help me out a lot with those things. So definitely on TikTok. I think I'm Giselle Sports or Giselle Espinales, one of the two, but you'll find me on those social media platforms.
I can't wait till I'm back in South Florida. When I go to Nate's house, I'm going to tell her to turn it to the station where Giselle will be so I can stay.
I love it.
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us. It was great having you. I look forward to possibly doing this again. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words with yours truly, the Fletcher Twins. Make sure you join us every week and rate, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit up our email at podcast.1000words@gmail.com with any questions or topics you'd like to hear us cover. Also, check us out on IG at the Fletcher Twins and Facebook at A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words.